This week, Governor DeSantis announced he was creating a Florida version of the Federal Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, similar to what the Trump administration is doing in Washington. The governor said over the next year, the state will attempt to sunset 70 state boards and commissions, cut 900 positions, require universities to undergo independent reviews and audits, and look into the ways local governments are spending money, all in an effort to cut out what he calls waste, fraud, and abuse. Lisa, what do you make of this move?
It's interesting to me when you look at the fact that Florida already has a government efficiency task force that the voters approved back in 2006 under Governor Jeb Bush. And when you look at their output, it is stunningly light. They meet every 4 years. They have recommendations every year. And if you look at the last report that they did, it was 3 pages, 1 page, 3 bullet points of recommendations. And so if those are the people that are looking at our efficiencies in government, then maybe it would not be a bad idea, whether you call it DOGE, whether you call it streamlining. Someone should be looking at how we spend our money and what we do with our tax dollars. And we really should not be depending on Government Efficiency Task Force for that.
Tara, since 1999, Republicans have controlled the state legislature and the governor's mansion. So if there is overspending in government, whose fault is it?
I think voters are going to be asking that. You know, Governor DeSantis was masterful with his Florida blueprint and exporting it to D.C. Now he's importing this DOGE efficiency. And there's a lot of the same questions on the state level that we have on the national level. Why didn't Governor DeSantis use that government efficiency task force in a better way, in a more efficient way? And what will this do to our neighbors? There are essential services that might go out the way because AI is at the heart of evaluating that. And you know, we're going to have to look at our neighbors and say, do we really want AI to be making those decisions? Why didn't the governor and the state legislature make those decisions before? And the other piece here, when we look at our universities and colleges, man, we have a lot to be proud of in the state of Florida. We have University of Florida, one of the top 10 in the entire country. St. Pete College, where I work, was just labeled #1 for online bachelor's programs. So why fix something that's not broken? And why use something that might be still under development? AI is exciting, it's scary, it's not perfect, it could bring innovation, but are we ready to apply that to real jobs and real institutions? It could be that we're signaling, at least with our institutions in higher ed, that people may not want our graduates, you know, because they're unsure of how we calculate courses using AI. And we may not have tech companies or other companies come to Florida worried about our educational system because of that.
I'm certain that we can always find better ways of doing things.
Right.
And Lisette's right. If, you know, the inactivity of that commission or committee is disconcerting, but it's also, you know, again, we have sort of ingrained it in our Republican mantra that we look for fraud, waste, and abuse, and we want to focus on those things. And I'm glad to see they're doing it at the federal level. In fact, the impact at the federal level has really been, I know there's been a lot of hand-wringing about Elon and firings. Really, the people who've been let go or just not, or jobs not reposted is really minuscule. Look at my friend Jamie Miller down in Sarasota, Reasonable Arguments blog, just posted and talked about that ad nauseum, where, I mean, typically corporations will fire 17.5%, 18%. will be their firings in any round of firings. We haven't even reached a fraction of 1% at the federal level. So I'm not concerned about that. I also have had a hunch always that our university system could use more of a focus on spending, and I'm not saddened to hear that they're going to be under some scrutiny. But again, we as Republicans do bear some responsibility if there's been misspending. I'm going to accept that and say, let's fix it and moving forward.
But if you start to look at some of the things he's saying, it also looks like he's really going to do a DEI witch hunt in the universities. I don't think he's looking for waste. I think he's looking for any programs that they've changed the name of and haven't gotten rid of. So when you start to see some of his public comments, this really, I think, is going to be about DEI and not about actually going through and doing a good audit to see if we're spending money correctly. And if he wants to audit something, he can audit his own travel expenses. He can audit us flying people from Texas to Martha Vineyard. There's a lot of things that he's done that deserve a good audit.
I just have to say, it's often about authority. Who has the constitutional authority on the federal level? Who has the constitutional authority on the state level? And you know, when I have a toothache, I go to a dentist. When I want to fix my universities and colleges, I don't necessarily want to go to a non-academician to help me with that. Or it could be a partnership with businesses to try to figure out what can our educational system provide to bring in more business here.